what is braiding for impact? What does that look like? What is the experience of that felt like for you in the past year or so?
Outside of what I know, where can I pull in from other areas to make whatever I'm up to stronger? And so that for me can be people. How do we work more tied as people to leverage each other's strengths? Or it can be tools. And so as a disruption strategist, I came into the impact media world, and honestly, it blew my mind because I had been working on lots of change initiatives, coaching individuals on how to move their initiatives forward. And the thing that really got me when I intersected with impact media is you can do all this work, but are you telling people about it? You need to tell people about it because your reach of impact is only as far as the story goes. And particularly when I think about what impact media actually looks like, it's a multimedia version of telling your story in a way that is more than just words. So one of the things that I have loved about working alongside Powerhouse as an organization is and Tina alluded to this in her introduction, is what's happening underneath, right? Like there's always the surface level of what's happening, and that's your access point, but there's always the underneath, and it's what are you really up to? And Powerhouse has a beautiful way of being able to hold that and then to actually bring that forward when you're talking about, what you're up to in the world. And it's not just the surface level story. It's like, what does this really mean? What is really going on here? What is really the impact of this change making? How are you going to go about making that change? What's your access point? What are the resources you have to work with? What is the human capital that you have around you? Because there's many ways to get to an endpoint. Like, what is the change you're looking to make? What is that ultimate goal? And then carving out your avenue to get there. And how can we work together to leverage each other's strengths? Braid for impact. In the systems change language, it's the whole is worth more than the sum of the parts. Like, how can we really create an access point here to create the disruption we're looking to make? We have a tendency to stay in our heads, and there's so much wisdom in below the surface, below the neck, in our feeling, in our other senses, in our heart. Impact media tells a sensory story, not just a linear story with words. It's not just a word story, and it's not just, a traditional video. It really creates that opportunity to be present and to feel the whole story. It goes to a place beyond words, and that's something that I've never had the experience to interact with in like a businessy kind of context. It's helping to tell the story in a way that they don't have words for.
We want to make sure that we're spiraling up in change making. Where are we going in the next 20 years that we haven't experienced in the last 20? And so as we kind of explore into communicating beyond words, right? It's a little bit of a push or stretch for those of us with a marketing background. Now, let me be very clear. We definitely work, with the change maker to get absolute clarity so that we can go beyond the words. Through an Indigenous lens, it's all about intersectionality, interconnectedness, and the story that's being told for all of our relations. And we are one very important drop in that ocean, in that tidal wave of change.
I wonder if there's anything you might want to share about that process for all the change makers listening.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite pieces about the work that we get to do with organizations. What happens through that process is the insight that that the person telling their story has for themselves and also for what they're up to in the world. And I think that being able to speak it, there's something that happens when the words come out of your mouth and when you have it mirrored back to you in a way where you feel heard and seen for all of what you've been up to and all of who you are in the world, that just helps it land. And we've had clients that are like, wow, I forgot we did all that. Or, wow, I was so exhausted, but now I realize we've actually had so much success, or we feel rejuvenated. Sometimes you need to do some internal work to have it matched on the external, and sometimes you need to do some external work to pull the internal out.
I think that that is such an important piece to highlight in our work. And it does tie in our work in a fire circle. It ties in our work and why we created the leader path. And it ties in so well the work of change making through impact media production, whether you're a leader in an organization or you are your organization. You are it.
One of the things that I biased obviously, but one of the things that I think is so amazing about the changemaker model that Powerhouse has is that every element of it is internal to external. It's like a fluid circle. And so, whether it be a fire circle we're hosting, or whether it be an impact media portfolio that we're putting together, or whether it be through our leader development offerings, through our First Steps program, it's always internal to external. It's not just, oh, we're going to work on internal. It's like you're internal so that you can show up in the world. It's the external so that, and it's this beautiful, this beautiful movement between internal and external.
I'm curious where you go with acceleration and media and what you see in the space of media and acceleration around what we do.
The time invested to build the relationships, to hear beyond the words, to really feel into what's happening, to acknowledge other people's wholeness, it takes us much further. And so accelerate doesn't mean faster, but I think it means like together further. And I think what the beautiful part about like accessing our wholeness is like everybody has it. We all have it. We all have those parts of ourselves that want to show up a little bit more, that want to be more connected, that want to be truly seen in different ways, and that want to bring our whole selves, even the crunchy bits, to all of our work.
How would a change maker, whether that is an individual change maker or a change maker leading an organization, how would they know they're ready for an impact media portfolio to do so? Like, what's the clue?
Yeah, I'd say you're ready if you if something has twigged for you in our conversation where we've talked about you've been working so hard, but it doesn't feel like there's been enough traction or that enough people know about it. That would be a clue. I would say if you've been in a change for a long time and you're starting to feel fatigued and you need like a re-energization, that would be a clue. I would say if you are feeling at like a plateau and you're like, so we did this and I don't know what's next, or I feel like there's more opportunity here, there's more in this organization, but I'm not sure how do we take it? Like, how do we step into that? What are we ready for now? If you feel yourself asking yourself that sometimes, if you want to find a meaningful way to recognize other leaders and other change makers in your organization, and to celebrate them for the work that they do, and that maybe that intersects with a diversity and inclusion agenda, or maybe it intersects with an Indigenous agenda, or maybe it's just something that you feel is really ready for, that you want to uplift the change makers around you. I would say all of these are clues that you might be ready to have a conversation with us.
Let's discover the change maker in you and the impact of you and what you need to make that change in the world.